Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more news, boxing news. I think this is actually the first time I ever covered boxing on my podcast, so I'm kind of excited about that. Boxing has kind of taken a step back after the ascension of MMA, and just due to a lot of the older boxers just phasing out and all of the celebrity hype with celebrity boxing, people dibbling and dabbling in boxing from other sports and things like that. So boxing is finally getting a premier matchup, the first probably premier matchup we'd probably had since Mayweather and Pacquiao back in 2015. But we are, according to reports, Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford are finalizing a deal for a fight in Las Vegas on September 13th, supposedly a super middleweight fight. So this is definitely going to be a must-see fight. It'll show a bunch of different things for both fighters because both fighters have different things to gain in this fight, and one has more to gain than the other, of course. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to give a quick synopsis of just what boxing was, how big the sport used to be back during the Tyson days, the Holyfield days. You had your Roy Jones Jr., who I'll get into a little bit later, comments that he had on this fight. Just all those great boxers back in the day from Holyfield and even, your Muhammad Ali, and going back to those fighters, George Foreman, who most people know George Foreman for the grills now and not for boxing per se. But during the golden era of boxing, a lot of boxing was premier. Now it's more spotty, it's more hit and miss. A lot of fighters are ducking each other. And it was nice to see that Terrence Crawford is not settling for the division of the welterweight division that he was in. He's actually going out for new challenges and trying to prove himself. Even moving up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo is a huge thing for boxing that you don't see often. Other than, Terrence Crawford and Canelo, prime time you would have, a Gervonta Davis, which, he's a smaller fighter, so he probably couldn't go up to 168. But nevertheless, this is huge for Terrence Crawford to prove his legacy and to solidify it as well. Because, like I said, lately we've been having boxing fights between the Pauls, and, you have Mike Tyson at the age of almost 60 fighting, and you have all of these matchups that are good for TV, but not necessarily haven't been good for the sport of boxing. This matchup will be good for the sport of boxing, the science, the art that is boxing. It goes to the old adage, make them miss, make them pay. This fight will definitely be that, a fight of the heavyweights. Now, Canelo is the bigger guy naturally in this fight, and Terrence Crawford is usually fighting around the 147, but he's coming up. Roy Jones thinks that weight won't be an issue in this fight, which I'll listen to his expertise from his decades of fighting in the game. He said it'll basically come down to if Canelo comes out in his same form, like if he doesn't try to play down to the competition or take Terrence Crawford lightly. Now, Terrence Crawford has to control the center of the ring, of course, as he said, similar to when Canelo fought Mayweather. Mayweather stood in the middle of the ring, made him miss, made him pay. He had the speed, he had the agility, he had the defense to counteract what Canelo has. Canelo has a lot of power, but not necessarily speed. Terrence Crawford can bring both abilities to the ring. I don't think that Terrence Crawford can hurt Canelo, but I think Canelo can hurt Crawford. So it's very important for him to stay off the ropes and to stay in the middle of the ring and be mobile and move around and have a lot of movement and switch up attacks, because if Canelo catches him, it could be bad. Now, Terrence Crawford has had a lot of upsets in his career. I think as far as when he fought Spence, I thought Spence would be a clear winner in that matchup. I was totally wrong. There were a lot of issues surrounding Spence around that fight, so a lot of things came into play that I didn't take in consideration. But Spence was on his streak, and then Terrence Crawford put him to an end, and we really haven't seen Errol Spence since then. So hopefully we'll see Errol Spence again. But Canelo, his slip up was against Mayweather, and I think he learned a lesson from that matchup. I don't think he was ready for the fight. He was a lot younger. He had a lot of experience because he has 66 fights under his belt, I believe. He's in his 60s. He started young, but Canelo, when you think about Canelo, he probably has the least to win in this fight. If he wins against Crawford, Crawford is going up to weight levels, weight classes. So they would say if he won, he's supposed to beat him. But if he lose, they say, how can you let a guy go up 2 weight classes and you lose to him, especially if you get knocked out? But if it goes to the scorecards, you'll still be in a lose situation. But Crawford has everything to win in this fight. If he beats Canelo, especially in convincing fashion or in a KO, he's seen as the next Mayweather or Mayweather-esque, maybe even better because he's more exciting. Mayweather's more a defensive fighter. Terrence Crawford is defensive to a degree, but he will go back and forth with fighters, unlike Mayweather was willing to do towards the later end of his career. So it's going to be exciting to see this fight. I'll definitely put my coins together to try to buy this fight. It's one of the premier matchups that I haven't seen in a while. Like I said, the last fight I bought was 2015, Mayweather and Pacquiao. It wasn't exactly what we thought it would be, but nevertheless, it was exciting to see those spurts and the balance between Mayweather and Pacquiao. But this fight being in Vegas, like I said, it's prime time. It's going to be very exciting to see. I'll probably cover the fight later this year if it goes down. Like I said, it's still in talks, but there's strong reports saying that this fight will more than likely happen. Both camps seem to not duck any fights. Canelo, like I said, he proved a lot, I think, against the Triple G fights, winning 2 of them and then earning a tie. And one of them, Triple G, was on this run where he was just knocking everyone out. He seemed to be unstoppable, seemed to be almost, like the Russian Mike Tyson or something back then. But Canelo was able to stand toe-to-toe with him and win 2 fights and then tie 1 as well. So it'll be a very exciting fight. And like I said, I'll cover it later on. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you next time.